Okay, so these are the same guys that made Neo, right? Okay, I can see some of the influences. This game is pretty good. Oh, 1v3. Nice. 1v3. Oh, I love this. This is so fair, right? 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 If there is one thing I can absolutely praise this game for, is its combat. Team Ninja has been famous for their combat, and I would say Neo 2 is their peak and stands out as one of the best combat systems in this super saturated third-person action RPG genre. And with Wo Long, the most outstanding praise I can give it is how it successfully made a Souls-like game accessible. So many games have simplified their complex and extensive mechanics to appeal to a new audience, and oftentimes they find themselves in a place where they miss the mark on both sides. And among the many genres, Souls and Souls-like are one of the hardest games to get into, with difficulty and an overwhelming amount of mechanics to absorb being the main reasons. Elden Ring has tried to make its game more accessible with the inclusion of summons, but the poor enemy balancing, which disrupts the freedom of builds, caused Elden Ring to generally be extremely easy or extremely difficult. Wo Long instead implements a seemingly mandatory cooperative partner, since it almost always assigns you an AI partner for every new mission you do, and while having a summon to take aggro and dish out more damage is nothing new, the morale system is one of the best accessibility approaches I've seen so far. Rather than adopting a level system where you need to farm XP to fairly match up against a higher level enemy, the morale system rewards exploration and fighting to increase your morale, and scales the enemy's attack and defense based on the difference between your morale and the enemy's morale. It is a very organic and natural form of progression that is easy to understand, free from convoluted numbers and wordings that are often obscure and verbose. Of course, their combat system is again something that I have to praise. Their parry mechanic is satisfying and intuitive. There is a wide array of martial arts moves, wizardry spells, spirit beast moves. The spirit management system is also a breath of fresh air that takes a new approach when it comes to utilizing these additional moves. The typical meter system that many games use often force the player to use their special moves and spells conservatively, making it feel very supplementary or extra outside of the core combat. This system instead allows you to freely spam your special moves and spells, but going beyond the negative range will leave you vulnerable to being staggered. This system rewards perfect parries and aggression, which helps to restore your spirit bar, which is amazing to me as these additional mechanics feel more like an extension to the core combat that can be easily learned and experimented on. Add that with a huge array of well-designed bosses, responsive movement that feels good and you can like freaking run on rooftops assassinating enemies from afar. Mechanically speaking, the combat is really amazing and stands very well on its own. Now, the same cannot be said for everything else. If Team Ninja was a student, they would probably get full marks for maths and like B's and C's for everything else. And even though Neo 2's presentation outside of combat was pretty substandard, it never felt unappealing or disruptive like it did in Wo Long. And what makes this aspect especially disappointing is that the game does not fully leverage on one of the most interesting time periods in history, the Three Kingdoms period. Let's start with the UI. The game continues to use an outdated system where stages are level based, and for some reason, the process of choosing your quest is presented on a scrolling list rather than on a map. To add on to that, rather than using a simple tick, they color coded it. Blue meaning you finished the quest and white means you haven't done it. Why not spread the quests around the map? Create a unique and clear symbol to distinguish between incomplete, completed and 100% completed missions. There are so many options in how you can present this. Even Super Mario Bros on the Wii had a better presentation for choosing their levels. And then when you press onto the quest, it dumps you with written exposition that is often uninteresting. The side missions itself also has very little context or even purpose behind it. It feels like they spend hours on the environment, enemy placement and combat situations, but only a few minutes on the context behind the side mission. At least there was a picture of the NPC giving the side mission in Neo 2. On Wo Long, it's just words. No cutscene, no talking, just bland and boring. Alright, and I thought this would have been an improvement, because there is no story. You're literally just someone who comes along to do all of the fighting for the generals. Moments that are supposed to be emotional had no effect because nothing was done to develop any of the characters in a substantial way. I appreciate that there are more cutscenes now to replace this crap in Neo, and some of these cutscenes are surprisingly well choreographed. So I wish the same amount of attention can be done for the story and especially for you, the player. Why not like make my character a student in one of the kingdoms? I could go on missions to work my way to the top, make some friends along the way. The climax comes when my kingdom gets attacked. The friends that has been developed over time gets killed. I am now out for revenge. I team up with the other factions, yada yada yada. You get the plot. And no matter how basic you say my plot is, it's still better than not having any, because this game makes me feel like I'm an alien from a fallen meteorite, gets rescued, and then suddenly people are telling me to do their bidding. I know that this is not Team Ninja's specialty, and I'm not expecting some extravagant story, but at least make some effort in giving your character a narrative. It pisses me off as the events that happen in the game follow the same events in the Three Kingdoms story. So all the potential drama, politics, character development, we seriously just skimmed over it. This is also another thing I wish they improved upon, and they didn't. Nioh 2's inventory management has already been criticized for being overly convoluted, and Wo Long's simplification of combat mechanics did not do any favors for its inventory management. First of all, why in God's name can I not have a side-by-side comparison of my weapons? Is this a joke? Is this your first time making such a game? Because are you telling me that the way I compare my weapons is by scrolling up and down like this? And the comparison isn't even that substantial. It compares the basic stats, either saying an increase or a decrease, and that's it. It doesn't help to compare martial arts or special effects. Are you telling me that I have to memorize or write down every item and its unique skills, then compare it manually? And yeah, this doesn't only apply to weapons, it applies to armor and accessories as well. It doesn't make any sense. What is this? It doesn't make any innovation in presenting the stats, as it will info dump you. You will be getting a lot of fodder items, meaning that their sole purpose is to make you travel to the blacksmith to sell or salvage. It is actually unbelievable that such a quality of life mechanic that is present in even the worst of looters is non-existent in Wo Long. And as a whole, the UI is just really low quality. It serves to neither be intuitive or pleasing to the eye. It doesn't make good use of the Three Kingdoms aesthetic. It bewilders players with RPG lingo that is presented in a downright ugly way, if you ask me. It is a massive step back and an aspect that Team Ninja has to work on. Now, it isn't all bad. Alright, the simplified combat has indirectly eased certain mechanics that are normally convoluted. Leveling up doesn't make you choose a wide array of different stats that sometimes don't make sense. It uses a simple elemental system that boosts different mechanics and favors different playstyles. The added points scales with different weapons and helps in unlocking new spells, which is thankfully presented in a simple and organized manner. One thing that should be a new norm in RPGs is respeccing freely. Wo Long allows you to change your points distribution for free and extremely easily, and that's just really awesome to me, as you can switch to different builds easily and allows you to experiment the different spells and moves conveniently and efficiently. The hub area is very simple, but it serves its job well. It's actually very well designed, with small plots of land connected by these huge tree branches. Unfortunately, it doesn't have that much substance. I really wish there were more NPCs with their own dialogue or routines, as it would really help in creating a village that feels alive. So while the UI is one thing, the graphics and performance is another. Now, I know that this is an aging engine, so outdated graphics and textures is something I can close an eye to. But this, no, this is not good. This is the Forspoken issue again. Light coming out of nowhere. I'm not Digital Foundry, but even I can see that the stages that take place in the day looks horrendous. Areas that should be dark or lack a light source are somehow just as bright, and the bright light often exposes how poor the textures are. But when the levels involve elements like rain or takes place at night, the game looks much better with clear contrasts of bright and dark, and colors just pop way better. In terms of aesthetic and design, it's unfortunate to see that Wo Long looks and feels so similar to Nioh when they are from two different cultures. The small huts and villages look like the exact same assets. Divine beasts and spirit guardians are literally the same thing, like they're not even trying to hide it anymore. And all of this feels so weird because there are some levels that truly feels grand and epic. It ticks all of the boxes, it embraces the Three Kingdoms aesthetic, and it makes you feel so immersed. But these moments are so rare and can only be seen on a very small handful of levels. I know that they're using the same engine as Nioh and it will have its limitations, but if they can make levels look like this, why not use such levels as an inspiration for other levels rather than just doing the same thing over and over again or downright copying from Nioh. To me, it just doesn't feel like the devs tried their best in ensuring the game looks and feels like it's from a completely different place and time period. And in terms of optimization, I mean, you already know the answer. On PC, it's borderline unplayable, and on the PS5, there are rare moments where there is stuttering and frame drops, which shouldn't even exist considering the graphical fidelity of the game. So this is really a game that is carried by its combat and gameplay while simultaneously brought down by its presentation. This is also very reminiscent of Nioh 1, a game that had good fundamentals but with a lot of rough edges in which Nioh 2 refined and perfected. But it isn't an excuse for Wo Long. Now personally, I know that I've said a lot of bad things about this game, but I will still recommend Wo Long. Yes, it has quite a fair bit of rough edges, but I cannot deny that the combat system is extremely fun, and that is what you will be doing for most of the game. So in the grand scheme of things, you will probably be having a lot of fun, and I would say that you have to try to look past most of these issues that I've pointed out in order to fully enjoy this game. It is the most accessible game in the Souls genre, and it would have been the perfect Souls game for newcomers in the genre, but the lack of polish and innovation brings this potential masterpiece down a few notches. So yeah, like and subscribe.